Welcome to the Brahmakumaris, where a new world is opened up for you. From humble beginnings in India in 1936 to a global organization with over 8,000 centers in 110 countries and 1 million students worldwide. Through their tireless commitment, passionate heart, and determined spirit, the Brahmakumaris arrived in America in 1974 and have since grown to 35 main centers throughout America. There are also 2 residential retreat centers, Peace Village, located in upstate New York, and Anubhuti, located in Novato, California.
I want to just share a little bit about how the centers of Raj Yoga meditation began in United States. Actually, I was in Caribbean islands and I got invitation from New York that we want to start something about meditation. And it was in 1978 I came here and we rented a very small apartment in Astoria. And from there I found that a lot of people have interest. I realized that there is so much need, and from there onwards then centers started in many other states.
Our centers are safe spaces where you can explore the power of your inner world.
The classes are conducted in many homes, many cities all over across the United States. A lot of people, they learn meditation, they use it, that meditation at their workplace, in their family, and also I find that children, young adults, because they are so much into what really is the life about.
The Brahmakumaris are dedicated to personal and global transformation through the study and spiritual practice of Raj Yoga meditation. And at the heart of our teaching is the belief that the pathway to peace and happiness is to remember our original nature as spiritual beings connected to the one source. In 1981, the organization received recognition as an international, non-governmental organization affiliated with the United Nations and accredited with general consultative status with the Economic and Social Council. From organizing large-scale global initiatives to local community programs, the Brahmakumaris has a tradition of service in every field that fosters spiritual growth among individuals from all backgrounds, cultures, and walks of life.
I hold on to this vision, the world of love, world of peace and harmony, world which is free from conflict and sorrow, where we can live as brothers, one family, children of common parents, one supreme divine power.
This is your invitation to awaken and join us in creating a world of love, peace, and kindness. Om Shanti. Shanti, everyone. Welcome back to another spiritual vaccine, looking for the cure to end all of our viruses and basically our own limitations and situations within ourselves that we're still using this lockdown time. We're using this time to find out more about who we really are. That's the power in silence. Silence will not hide you from you. Silence will not hide you from you. What it does is that it amplifies who you really are at the base. And what's been so beautiful about this time is that I'm sure if you've been paying attention and if you've been listening, you must be seeing and hearing yourself unlike you've ever had in a very long time. For those who've been meditating with the Brahmakumaris, I know it's a little bit easier. You understand the process and the practice and the discipline behind science. For those of you who've just joined your meditation practice, it must be quite a new awakening. For those of you who have really struggled with meditation and have never even thought that you can meditate, it must be an interesting time. Today I went out for a short moment and we were talking to a few folks that were at the bank, and they were wearing their masks and I was wearing my mask and gloves. And the lady at the teller was sharing, I just don't know what to do. You know, I used to go to the gym, I used to go to the restaurants, and now I just have my own self, my own company. And I thought, isn't that a nice thing to just be in your own company? And she says, yeah, I guess it is. You know, I have no other choice. And that might be really where the crux of starting relationships begin. That we need to recognize if we're having a good relationship with ourselves first. Or when I go inside, I don't feel very comfortable with who I see. I don't feel very comfortable with who I'm hearing is in my head. You know, I mean, how is your relationship with yourself? Did you give yourself a hug today? Did you give yourself a blessing today? Did you say something nice to yourself today? It's so important, isn't it? Did you speak sweetly to yourself today? I've had one of those days that what we would call it kept going on and on and on and on and on. From 8 o'clock onwards, it just moves, you know. And I kept checking myself inside. I'm doing a lot of self-checking today. But one thing that gave me a great amount of joy is that today is Santosh's birthday. And now he's like, oh no, sister, don't mention it. So today he's the big 40. And right before coming into the show, I was asking him, Santosh, because Santosh lives with me as well. I've had the fortune of how many years now? 12, 13 years?
12 years.
About 12 years Santosh has been living with me now. And for the first time I asked him, am I difficult to live with? And I was saying to him, please just be honest. I won't worry if you say yes. It won't bother me at all. Really, it's your birthday. So I'll give you a pass. Don't worry about it. And then so what did you say when I asked, am I difficult to live with, Santosh?
Honestly, no.
I mean, really.
No, really.
Really, I'm not, right? See, I think I'm not hard to live with.
I think so.
I think I'm really not hard to live with. I like to give people their space. I try not to enforce too many of my ideas on people. I am quite creative and I am quite fast. And I do invite anyone who works within my orbit. I do ask for speed, effectiveness, and honesty. These are the 3 real core things that I ask for when you're with me in the vortex. And I guess, wouldn't you say that maybe the relationships that haven't worked, there was something lacking in that particular area? In particular, honesty, transparency. I think that's been always a big thing. You know, when you work with a team of individuals and you are there's something I got from David Zabowski. Forgive me, Dave, if I've totally messed up your last name. An incredible graphic artist, but an incredible artist, does work for Pixar and all of these great entertainment giants in Hollywood. He created an art piece. I wish I could find it. I think it's on my phone. Perhaps when I take a break, I can show it to you. But the art piece is called Faith Keepers. Beautiful, isn't it? That I feel like when you are with a group of individuals in a dynamics of service, I feel that we are faith keepers. And as a result of that, honesty and transparency and trust and respect and lightness are just some of the qualities to help make relationships flow, to make relationships easy. But I have asked myself this question because as I sit here in front of you, it's not that all my relationships have been rosy. It's not that every relationship I've had has been perfect and I've been the one that was always right. I don't know. I know we tend to not remember if we've imposed sorrow on someone, but I do know that we definitely find it very hard to forget when someone has imposed sorrow on us, and the story that goes with that. So just for a moment, I mean, can you recall the last time you had an encounter with a difficult person? By chance, are you living with them during this lockdown and during this particular COVID-19 era and period of your life? Are you living with a parent who might be now in their stages of dementia or Alzheimer's, and they've been going through quite an interesting behavioral transformation? Would you call that difficult, or would you call that what it is? Are you living with a spouse and maybe a few years ago you felt that in your marriage you started to become distant from each other? So what you tend to relate to or pick up with each other are mostly the shortcomings or the responsibility for the kids. So many marriages nowadays, they focus, what do the kids need? And the second part is, something is wrong. You do this, you don't do this. Why can't you do this? You should do this. And in between that is just silence. Nobody wants to speak about, tell me what you're feeling. You know, what is it that we're going through? I feel a sense of a distance. I don't know if you recall a class I gave a few months ago, many months ago actually, and I believe it was December of last year. And I don't remember clearly if it was me, if I was going through something spiritually or emotionally, but I think it was like from before that. It was maybe from September, October, November, because I remember in December sitting with the folks that were very close to me and basically being very transparent and saying, I don't know, I just don't feel this. I feel there's a problem, there's a rift, there's a separation, there's a dishonesty. Remember that time in December, Santosh? Like, we have these open dialogues, and I was saying, I think there's something wrong, there's a waste thought, and I'm not able to feel close anymore. Like, I have this quality in my relationships to be as honest and transparent as I can possibly be, because maybe it's something that I learned from Daddy Janki. For those of you who've heard, my spiritual mentor, who was 104, passed away on March 27th. But one of the things Daddy has left with me was a phrase that she always used to say, use your time in a worthwhile way. And it's not just physical, but it's definitely spiritual and mental. How you use your thoughts, what you do with your thoughts, you know, where are these thoughts channeling in their energy? So I remembered I would just go, you know, in front of the team, and I just couldn't feel the connection. And I felt, it's got to be me, it's got to be me, it can't be them. And then I'm thinking, well, I would see maybe that they didn't say anything right, or they said it wrong, or I felt there was a dishonesty, and whether that was there or not, which maybe it wasn't even there, I wasn't feeling that sense of trust. And what I chose to do was to make myself vulnerable, and as well risk the fact that they might get upset with me, going, I can't believe you would even think that about me. But I had to, in order to clear the air, because when you're running a ship like we do, and we're constant on the field of service, it is so imperative that the individuals that you are in service with, there's an open, trust, safe culture. Now, there are certain organizations and companies that have particular written cultures and policies, but when you go into this culture, there's another hidden culture that's going on that's not in the policy book, and it has a lot to do with the dynamics between personalities, racism, prejudices, hierarchy, religious indifferences. So many things happen in businesses and companies, even in families, that create tension between people. And the best part is when we start to speak more about it to other people, it really starts to become a belief system. Like you're really creating a movie about the way you interpret this person. how to get along with difficult people. It's what the whole world is about right now. There's always going to be someone who doesn't see it your way, who doesn't listen to you, who has a behavior that's completely opposite to you. But the question is, how are you coping? Yesterday's session, I hope you enjoyed the whole spiritual practice of the 8 powers and diving deep into the power within you. And what makes that session so vital is that in order for you and me to cope with all of our relationships, we need that inner power. Because relationships come to take, but also to share. And a lot of times we don't remember the shared aspect of a relationship. The soul will remember what you've taken from me. Always. We tend to remember the people that we interpret and perceive in our souls. The ones that we perceive gave us sorrow. We will remember them more, or keep a place in our hearts where they sit in very comfortably, and forget the ones who have our back. I see it over and over and over and over again, which makes us complicated people too. How in the world could you spend so much of your thought energy on a person that violated you, that hurt you, that took away your dignity, that disrespected you, that ignored you, that devalued you, and you forget the one that says, it's okay, let's go and get ice cream, even though I'm lactose intolerant. It's okay, let me sit here with you. You would more rather purge all of your negative emotions about the person to your friend or to your relative, the one that you like and take for granted, instead of go and speak to that person personally. One of the things that I've observed in relationships is that sometimes it's an observation, it's not a judgment. We have a lot of power to speak about somebody that we think is less than we are, or someone that we think has given us sorrow. And we speak with a lot of force, But when the person comes around, we're like meek, we're like a mouse. We don't want to say anything. We're like, yes, hello, and you're saying yes. I remembered once there was a woman, a young lady. I know this is a little complicated because she will project one particular personality in front of me, but behind the back I hear all these things that she says about me. And I remembered once I had a visitor who was one of my other companions on the service of the Brahmakumaris. And we were in the kitchen, and this person happened to have been cooking. And the person, when they saw me and the other person who was visiting us, she was this amazing person, like I was her best friend and I was her God. And I just stood there and I looked at her and I was just so perplexed. And I went, what in the world are you doing? What the scene was offering is that this particular soul who was cooking wanted the visitor to see that she was so loving and so nice and so caring to me, and I was the one who had an issue with her. Because you can only imagine how confused I was, because this is a person who I've constantly heard from other people come back and tell me things that they've said. So I thought to myself, now that's a very complicated person, because what do you do to bypass her interpretation as well as your reality? So today's discussion has to do with understanding ourselves first, and then being able to somehow accept, or to some aspect be courageous enough to confront and speak to the person, or maybe if it gets to a particular point that there's nothing to be done, to be silent with pure feelings, not silence as if I give up, there's nothing more I can do. came across a really, really nice video that shared a little bit about a little practice about difficult people. And I'm going to ask Santosh if he can play that video for us just to give an idea as we go into a very short explanation and PowerPoint on difficult people. But this video I thought was kind of useful. It was very practical. But I want you to think about, relationships. And think about yourself. But also take a look at this video and tell me what you think afterwards. If you think it was helpful or quite truthful. I think it is. You'll enjoy it.
Your ability to deal with people is going to have more of an influence on your success and happiness than any other skill you can develop. Now, it's easy to deal with pleasant, positive, cheerful people. It's when you have to deal with difficult people that you really demonstrate the quality of your personality and your ability to function well in a competitive society. So how do you deal with difficult people? People who have problems, people who are angry, people who are frustrated, people who attack you. Worst of all, people who do not mean you any good and want to take advantage of you. The starting point is very simple. Is take a deep breath and be patient. Calm down, go slow. Don't let other people's negativity or anger or frustration affect you. Step back in your own mind mentally and just smile. You know, there's an old saying, if you can't say something nice, don't talk at all, is my advice. Sometimes the very best thing you can do in dealing with difficult people is just to be dead silent. Don't feed the fire by arguing or getting involved. When you're dealing with a difficult person, just stop the clock like a timeout, just smile and don't say anything. And then when you do say something, remember one of the great communication tools is this, is the person who asks questions has control. The way that you can take control of any negative situation is not trying to win, but simply by asking questions. Say, why do you say that? Or why do you feel that way? Or that's an interesting point of view. How did you come to that point of view? Or how would we know that what you say is true? I mean, is there any proof or validity? Instead of attacking, simply ask questions. And it's sort of like the matador backs away from the bull. As you keep backing away from the bull, you cape the difficult person by simply asking questions and being genuinely curious about what he or she is thinking and feeling and why they are behaving the way they are. Sometimes you may find that they have a good reason. Sometimes you may find that they misunderstand something. Maybe you will find that they have a difficult problem in their lives. But in any case, be calm, be patient, be controlled, and ask questions, and it will make you the master of the situation.
I like that, it's not about winning the conversations or the situations, but it's also having the courage to ask, why did you say that? Now, I would say that in my 20s and 30s, I don't know if I had the inner resilience or the inner recognition of even my own sense of worth to actually turn to somebody who I'm having a sort of a conflict of energy with and say, why did you say that? First there's like all this stuff going on inside because that's hitting different buttons of maybe insecurity or ego or competition or just maybe they're just wrong. They could be just wrong. And I didn't have in my 20s or 30s the decorum to actually say, why did you say that? That's not true. As I mature now, I do. I can definitely say it with grace. I think that one of the most important things about us looking at how to deal with all relationships is to really begin to have a comfort with yourself, to recognize that you really are this immortal, eternal, imperishable being, the soul. There was a class that I gave on experiencing God that gave a very clear insight into who the soul is and what the soul is. but that we are this living energy carrying an enormous amount of stories inside of our beings. And people are going to come into our lives to test those stories, to trigger those stories, for us to be able to apply certain powers that we're not using. So you and I might call them difficult people, but actually they're just different, and they're offering us an opportunity to learn about who we are much more. So let's take a look at the PowerPoint that I have here, and just journey with me through this, and feel free to give any comments apart from happy birthday greetings to Santosh, which I'm glad that you are all doing, which is wonderful. I think that as we develop an ability to relate to ourselves better, to have a healthy relationship with ourselves, find out what you are here to do. I mentioned it yesterday in our session. But think about and be very clear, what are my priorities in this lifetime? Pause for a little bit. What are the things that I hold of great importance for my life? Right? Give that some thought. What is important to me? And I'll give you a few seconds to think about that. Priorities for me is I keep my mind positive and clear. That's a big priority for me. I don't allow my emotions to interfere with the force of my clarity and my direction in life, where I think I'm being led by the destiny or by the universe. So my priority for me is, Jen, keep your thoughts in check. Don't get off course. Don't get off track. That's been a big priority for me. Make sure it has a deep relationship to God. Very big priority. My third priority is, because I'm keeping my first two in check, please use me. I wish to be used. That this life uplifts humanity. I just don't want to waste it. So find out what yours are. I shared with you what mine is, and I might have missed, I like music and dancing and listening to these things. So that's also another priority. I love listening to music. I don't know if I listen to it every day, but I need to hear a sound every day. Something that really stimulates my spirit. It seems like a very mediocre and average priority, but I believe anything to do with the arts connects me to my future. Because I feel like the arts comes from the soul. And that's another aspect of something that I weigh very high inside. Okay, if anybody wants to share anything about their priorities and their stuff, please feel free. I don't mind making this interactive and engaging. So, as I asked Santosh before we started tonight, am I easy to get along with? And I wonder, the people who have lived with me, the people who have left, am I easy to get along with? Or was I difficult? Or was it that they needed something from me that I wasn't able to give them? Does that deem me a difficult person? Or does that mean is that I couldn't support what your need was? And is it my fault that I can't give you what you want? And so you go to where you want or where you can be fed? So I asked myself this question, am I easy to get along with? And I went back to my childhood. I can't go back in my many lives. I don't know what I was like. But I do remember on my father's side, which is my Indian side, I was raised in a joint family. And what that means, it's when your father, the sisters, mother, father, in-laws all live in the same house together. And we lived in a very, very large house. So my dad has his side. I remembered my grandmother's space was on the other side. Then there was another aunt and her husband at the other end of the house. Then on the like the west side of the house, there were my other aunts and uncles and their kids. And then at the outside, kind of the outside of the house, there was another relatives, like a few cousins. And then you had all the helpers and the staff that used to take care of things in the house. And I don't remember them ever fighting. I don't. I do remember Dad slapping me some serious hard slaps when I was out playing cricket with the boys, which Indian girls just don't do. But at the time, I didn't know. Because, I'm half African too. Come on, ease up on me, no? But I think that that played a very big role in me believing that living together can be an easy experience. So when I was transferred and I lived with 7 sisters in New York, that was different for me. I don't think it was difficult for me at a personality level, but it was difficult for me because of my self-esteem. I don't know if I was a good fit, and I don't know if even whatever was going on with my training and my development in those days was the perfect fit. But to be very honest with you, I don't believe I was difficult, nor were any of the sisters difficult. There was just an energy that just felt like it was just different. I hope that made sense. Living on my own, I've had so many friends over. So many friends. Friends for a long time. And again, just being straight up and open. So when I asked Santosh tonight, tell me the truth, it's your birthday, you're going to get away with whatever answer you give. Have I really been difficult to live with for the past 12 or 13 years? And he says, absolutely, if you weren't sister, I wouldn't be here. So then I asked him, well, there were 1 or 2 more other people who were here and they left. And you know what his answer was? They had desires. What an interesting response. And what he was saying wasn't that a very interesting response? He said, if they have desires and they want something which you're not able to give or placate, then of course they're going to leave because they're taking. And I thought that was such an important answer. Is it true or not? I don't know. I still check myself. But I do recall that when someone is something on the inside and something else on the outside, it makes relating very challenging. They call it wolf in sheep clothing. Yeah. I've heard, there are times, and I don't know if my wonderful friend Kanu Kogod is on, or Portia, or Sylvia, or any of my friends, Ivy, or anyone. Nicole might be on, but the more you get to know me, the way I am in front of you on a stage, off a stage, cooking for you, laughing with you, playing with you, I'm the same, And one of the most important things I've often valued is to be authentic. I have the faith I will evolve into an illuminated spiritual being. I don't question it. But while I'm taking my steps to get there, I just want to be true. I just want to be true. So I hope Santosh's answer was truthful. And it is his birthday. So it's important that you know that in a particular encounter between you and the other person, is this battle with this person worth winning? Where my cortisone's level is going up, my fear and flight factor is up, my ego is fed, my rage is increasing. Is this battle worth it with a person I have no power over and with a person I just can't change? So know your battle. Is it ever worth it to confront a person who you know you have no power to change? Know your diffuse mode that can help to not pull you into other people's stuff. One of the things I've appreciated in Raj Yoga meditation is the way we say hello and goodbye in Raj Yoga. Om Shanti. You know, because we interact with so many people, and as a result of interacting with so many people, possibilities of there being a disagreement or a difference of opinion arises. I mean, just the other day, I heard somebody was so angry that I opened up an opportunity for Ricky Cage's production to transcend other platforms, a very good friend of mine. And I was like, why would they be upset? Ricky and I are friends, and we've already spoken, and we're opening up many platforms for his music. And then I was accused of being unprofessional. And I thought to myself, that couldn't be so far from the truth. So you know what I said, everyone? Om Shanti. Om Shanti. I'm not even going there. I have no business to do with that. I know who I am. I know what I'm doing. Had nothing to do with anyone else. But again, difficult people. What was their motive? What's their intention? What do they want? Is this a return of karma? I have no idea. But it's important for you to find the button that you can push in your consciousness that will not let you get into a battle in which you will end up the party that is bruised or wounded. So try Om Shanti. I'm not going there. Om Shanti. Try it right now. Just try it. Just say it online. Om Shanti. Think about that one person that every time you go in front of them, your heart gets restricted. Om Shanti. Just say it. Om Shanti. I'm not going there. Om Shanti. Doesn't that feel better? I use it all the time. I use it all the time, you know. I use it all the time because I think that it's so important to find what can reduce the tension and the powerless feeling you have inside of you when you just can't shift. Oh, I have an itch here. When you just can't shift the situation. All right. So know your diffuse mode that can help you to not pull you into other people's stuff. I'm sensitive, so it's natural for me to pick up things unlike other people. I don't like to be sensitive. I balance it out with as much wisdom and knowledge as I can. But I still have to accept and discern what the person is doing or saying isn't the best option. So let's take a look at the next slide. Do you have the power to wish these particular souls well? Think about someone in the house right now. A mother, a father, a husband, a wife, a teenager on the iPhone all day long, or maybe playing games. Did you wish your child well today? Or were you complaining or yelling at them and say, did you do your homework? Did you do this? Come and help me in the house, no? Think about it. What about your husband? Now everyone's teleporting at work, at home. So are they getting on your last nerve? Do you wish he would close the computer and come and help you in the kitchen? Do you wish that he would help you with the housework? Maybe, you know, if you're the husband, you're going, I wish she would be quiet. Or I wish she would come and help me with my workload. Oh, does she understand how much I have to do in my deadline and they're making all this noise? Do you have these thoughts? Because by having those thoughts, it's like you're saying your spouse is difficult because they don't understand you. So a means of transforming that is to wish them well. Why? It will always protect your inner karma. It will protect your karma. When I had someone who I could feel it from my bones, not only was this person intoxicated with the power that they held, but I was in their way in a way that I didn't support what they wanted and who they were, just by my mere presence. And that was such a painful time for me, everyone. However, something from the ethers, God's blessings on me, maybe Daddy Janki's blessings on me, maybe my karmas of the past, I made it a promise. Don't have any waste thoughts for this person. Your good deeds will not go to waste. You want to deal with difficult people in the workplace? You want to deal with difficult people in your house? Keep doing your good, no matter what. So, here are your life savings. These are your big S's that I highly recommend you ingrain in your heart tonight, okay? Sometimes I tell you to not take your vitamin C's, right? And sometimes I'll give you different C's to take. Tonight, look at your savings. Okay? Ready? Number 1. See not their weaknesses. Write it down. See not their weaknesses. Possible? Hold it for a minute in your heart. See not their weaknesses. Emerge all the people that you've had to work with, collaborate with, people that are present, people that are in your past. Can you see not their weaknesses? It'll save you a lot of spiritual power. Number 2, speak not about their weaknesses to others. Speak not about their weaknesses to others. The moment you start to talk ill about another person's limitation or your inability to understand who they are, not only are you reducing power in the soul, but you're getting infected by the same weakness that you're talking about, because you're feeling their weakness as you're speaking about it. Nobody gets away. The 3rd S, stop making up a story in your head about how you want them to be. This is a big one, because a lot of us walk around in our offices, in our homes, with our social gatherings. Oh, I wish they were more like that. Haven't you done that? Expecting and wanting the person to beat to your drum, to be a little bit more humble, to be a little bit more thoughtful about your needs, but they're not. They're not. They're not, at least for you. They're not thoughtful, they're not respectful, they're not kind. Where you are concerned, for some reason, it just irks you. So one of the most important things that we must practice, stop making up stories about how you think that difficult person should be. Waste of savings, waste of spiritual savings. It's not going to be helpful for you. And the last but not least is silence. The moment you start to think about how strange, how odd, how arrogant, how selfish, how manipulative, how angry, how untrustworthy, how dishonest a person might be that you define as difficult, wastage. You can't be mentally at peace, and you can't harness the greatest power of inner stillness, because your thoughts are connected to waste about the person. So when you look at your life savings, right, your soul savings, see not their weaknesses, speak not about their weaknesses to others, stop making up a story about how they should be, and silence. Hold your silence where there are good wishes and pure feelings for them. I say this with you from my own experience. A person like me that's always on the front, always pushing stories forward, always creating new ideas, always shifting and changing the game, moving the goalpost over and over again, just creating, just being innovative. You can get a lot of stuff from a lot of people, but they do make you stronger human beings and individuals. But your big savior, silence. Most important. So here's the question that I would like to ask all of you tonight. And I want you to take a pause. Take a deep breath. Are they difficult? Or are they just different? Why is it that that same person with those same characteristics or behaviors is loved by other people, but not you? You've had somebody in the office. You might say, oh, nobody gets along with him, but there's always a few who do. How come those individuals have the ability to bypass the person's limitation and still get along with the person? Sometimes they'll be like, oh, that's just the way it is. Let's move on. How many of you have had children who are really, really a test paper for you? And no matter what your child does, you can't help but love them. But if that child goes to somebody's house and creates a rumpus, and then you overhear a parent saying, oh my gosh, so-and-so's son is like, oh, what an abominable child. I've been in those situations. It's like, oh, I just don't know what they're teaching that child. But as far as the mother's concerned, the child can do no wrong. So I think what can help us to be able to really deal with difficult people is to imagine and to perceive and interpret. Maybe they're not difficult. Maybe they're just different. And I need to accept their difference and embrace it. We actually are moving forward to more spiritual intelligence, spiritual understanding, spiritual wisdom, spiritual personality. And I believe the more spiritual we're becoming, the more accepting we will be of others. Thank you. It's always a treat. Simple little ideas and thoughts. A conversation with difficult people can go on forever because the tendency is to point our fingers at the other person. But I need you to look at you like I've looked at myself on many occasions when certain relationships don't work. For me, when I break my relationships, it has a lot to do with dishonesty. That's a tough one for me. And even though there is love and respect for the person, when there's an overwhelming amount of this energy of dishonesty, I break my ties. So you've got to know your battle. And you've got to know if this is worth it. I hope that makes sense today, because if we develop a sincere, honest, open relationship with ourselves, and then connect that relationship to God, the divine, the supreme being, I'm good. I'll be solid. That even when something's not working right in my relationship with someone, maybe you need some time, sometimes I need some time. I don't like to speak from a place of emotions. I prefer to sort it out first, and when I have become more at peace, then I will go and speak to the person and say, I need to talk to you, just so that I can clear the air. I want to clear my conscience and also the other person's feelings and vibrations as well towards me. Difficult situations in relationships between people, I believe, happen because we're not having a healthy relationship with ourselves. And as a result of that, we are not authentic in our interactions with each other. There's always a question mark. There's always a question mark. But let people know who you are. Show yourself as you think you are. And allow yourself to be humble enough to be vulnerable, to let people know, I don't know what I'm doing. Or I need your help and support. Or this is a hard season. Or I messed up. You know, all of these things become aids to help us to build better relationships with ourselves and with each other. All right, so are there any thoughts or ideas or feelings to share? Okay, let's see what we have on here. My battery's dying on the phone, so hopefully I'll be able to see it. Where do you find the courage to be transparent? Easy. Be honest with yourself. Write a letter to yourself and talk to yourself about all the thoughts and the feelings, especially if they're waste thoughts about other people. You've got to sort it out for you because you're the one that's feeling polluted. You're the one that's feeling upset. You're the one that's feeling hurt and disappointed. So that feeling is a sense that there's room for improvement within me to get stronger, to become more enlightened, and that's important. The difference between authenticity and truth is that truth is where there's a lot of wisdom that comes with you. When you live a life of truth, it is supported by deep spiritual wisdom. But authenticity basically says, I might not have reached my level of wisdom and truth, but here's where I am at this moment in my life. The third and the fourth are difficult for you. It's okay, Sonia. It's going to be difficult at times and sometimes it's going to be easy. So Tina's asking, so is it okay to say this is a waste thought and end it? It is imperative that you acknowledge the thought that you're having about this person is waste. And that's your mistake. You need to build a very honest and open relationship with yourself to make sure you identify where you're going wrong with you. So yes. And by having that honest relationship, it will help you to overcome the situation. So do you want to be right or do you want peace is Nicole Jones' question. Hi, Nicole. It's true. I want peace. But I'll tell you, sometimes inside my heart, I just want to be right. And that takes a lot of spiritual maturity. So now I've reached a point that I don't want to prove myself to anyone anymore. I don't have to. And you have to reach a particular point in your life where you don't have to prove yourself to anyone anymore. Because you've done your work and you're continuing to do your work. It's a consistent journey, isn't it? And at some point, being honest with yourself and checking yourself to see, is the way I'm responding to this person or this situation from my past? Was I bruised? Was I traumatized? Am I still carrying the vibration? Because why is it that some people are just not affected by that particular person, but where you're concerned, it gets your goat? Right? So anything, everyone, anything that goes against your peace and your power to love, that's your homework. Whether the person is right or wrong, if you're not feeling peaceful and you don't feel your love, that's on you. That means you are in need to build a relationship with yourself because you're now being difficult. How are you being difficult? I'm not loving to myself. I'm not peaceful to myself. I'm being difficult to me. So that's going to come out in some way or the other. Or I'll meet somebody on my journey who will be the same. How much is too much when it comes to tolerating difficult people? Asmita, how much is too much when it comes on to tolerating difficult people. In yesterday's class, I shared about the power of tolerance. Tolerance isn't necessarily an energy where there's compulsion. Tolerance is that there's so much love in you that you can deal with them. That's one. But the fact that our love is increasing gradually through our self-reflection, through becoming more aware that we are souls and that God is the supreme soul, gradually our love is increasing again. So prior to becoming Asmita, full of love, here's my advice. Step away if you need to. Don't force yourself to be in a situation when you don't feel strong enough. That's being authentic. And when you step away from that relationship or that situation in a room, in your mind you tell yourself, I don't have the strength to give to this soul what is needed. I need space. This is what you have to tell you, not the person. You. And if the person keeps knocking at you, don't you hear me? Listen to me. You're like, I don't know what to say. You know, you have to speak from that place. But more than likely what happens is your adrenaline is really pumping. You feel angry. You want to yell. You want to scream. That's you being difficult too with you. So, let your tolerance be so inverted, Asmita, that you tell yourself, I don't know if I have it right now. In your mind. And when you get the opportunity, just step aside. And in your stepping aside, you're not going to hold waste thoughts, and you're not going to wish them to be someone else. You know what you're going to do? I'm going to wish myself to be someone else, to be stronger here. And I'm going to maintain my good wishes about me, even though I don't feel strong at this particular moment in this relationship. Got that one? Yes? Very important practice. Okay? All right, Asmita? All right, thanks for the reminder that people, we have difficulties with our loved by others. That's something I will endeavor to keep in mind when I find myself clashing with other energies. Kirit says, first one says, second one is difficult. Then second one tells first one is difficult. Who is right? Both. Both are right. Kirit, both are right. All right, Vivian, what a wonderful session. I learned much. Thank you so much. How does one decide whether to be silent and smile versus to be authentic and open? Priya, great question. How does one decide to be silent and smile rather than to stay open? When the situation has disturbed me, I'm not going to smile. Because when I smile in front of the person, I'm also lying. Because I might be thinking, I just want to grab them, right? So when the situation is really uncomfortable, be very true. Let's say, for example, right now you're yelling at me, Priya, and I'm like, I don't feel good. This doesn't feel right. And I'm like, okay, I heard what you said. This is when you're building your strength now, right? You're going to have to just be detached. And so I can't understand why you've done this. I'm just going to need time. You will find the opportunity. You don't smile in front of a difficult person. You stay true. You stay neutral. And you keep yourself okay. Unless your smile is, I just can't believe that person, you know, or your smile is like, I can't believe even I am in this particular situation. When I find myself in a situation with challenging personalities, and I might catch my thought going, what is my karma that I ended up with this particular soul? I smile. I go, listen to you. You're so ignorant. You know that soul is in your life for a very specific reason. The question is, what are you willing to do for you, right? And again, whenever you connect to God, I tell you guys, you will get all the answers. And that's what I love about the practice of Raj Yoga, that every time you have a link to the divine, your intellect becomes clean and clear, and you will catch the touchings Listen out, Priya, Asmita, Nicole, everyone. Listen out for the gentle whispers that are telling you the right thing to do. You will always be right. Always. All right. Okay, so I think that's about it, right? To me, it isn't really about having control, but more really being curious and reconnecting and finding a way through. Very nice, Bill K. Yeah, there's some of us that have this particular ability, but to check that even that quality isn't annoying the person. I mean, I've been in situations and conversations with people who keep asking, but why? But why do you think that person had that thought? And why do you think, and I'm just like, would you just stop? It's just what it is. It's just, I can't keep answering all the why. So make sure that there's a balance in your curiosity and that there's also respected space. That sometimes, Bill, we don't always know the reason behind why we say what we say or do what we do. So when you ask your why and you're curious into why I just yelled at you or why I made a mistake, it could make it even more challenging. Do you understand what I mean? It could be just a little bit harder for that person because we are working on understanding ourselves. We don't know ourselves fully yet. We're in a journey. We're on a journey, and it's a process. So sometimes when you do ask about the why, just be mindful that we're all trying to sort ourselves out. And sometimes we just don't have the answer. Okay? All right. Tomorrow is Thursday night. Oh, so tomorrow will be a Zoom session tomorrow. So we'll look forward. I don't know what the topic is because we like to keep you in suspense. But I assume that all the sessions so far have been very useful and helpful. And I believe that Santosh has also created a playlist of all the classes whilst you're walking around the house, cleaning, cooking, putting things together. Put it on, listen, think about how it helps you, how you can be better with your husband, with your wife, with your teenagers, with your roommates, with your mother, with your friends. Just keep your mantra in your mind, Om Shanti when they are. There are a lot of things going on inside of us that we can't explain yet. Some situations are hard to talk about. And as a result, the energy gets channeled in a way that brings us into behaviors that aren't of the best quality or the best grade. But we have to develop a relationship with ourselves. We have to sit comfortably with ourselves. Keep having a conversation with God every day. Listen to your gentle whispers that comes from above. The energy of the divine will signal to you who you really are. So when you're with difficult people, you will be empathetic. You will have the ability to have a lot of Om Shanti with them. You will be able to release them to be who they need to be. You will accept that maybe they're just different than I am. And your ability to do that is to release yourself from developing a hard relationship with you. And it will open up an honest, loving, beautiful connection with yourself and with many other people who are in your destiny to find you and to build beautiful relationships. So maybe not all the relationships went perfect, but maybe the ones after tonight can. Good night. Om Shanti. Thank you so much for joining in today. keep sending Santosh's blessings. He's got so many blessings and so many birthday wishes today. It's been unbelievable. This young man is loved so much by so many people. And it's my pure wish that he consistently flies and soars and becomes an absolute profoundly powerful instrument to help the lives of so many, millions and millions of people. So my birthday wish for him is what I had this morning. May his purest wishes come true. And for all of you out there who are Taurian, happy birthday. Take care. Enjoy.
Surely wisdom will grow like a flower in bloom. The seed has been planted and tended and watered by the prayers of the hopeful and the tears of the brave. We long to return to that place of still waters and sit on the banks under some shady tree. In my mind, I can see it, I hear it, and I feel it. And love, peace, and wisdom are all that we need. Some call me a dreamer, some will call me a seeker, one who follows the stars on a quest for the truth. But every believer holds a deep hidden memory of a time